Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with SpeakEasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. We're back with a brand new episode, and this is a local connection that I've made over the years. She's been in HR for quite over 20 years now, and so she knows a little bit about culture, and that's what we're going to dive into today. So I am thrilled to have on SpeakEasy HR for episode 67. Meghan Hensley. Meghan, welcome.
Thanks, David. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we were just quickly talking before you came on live, and so you're going to be traveling for some vacation, and so a lot of people are traveling, spring break and Easter and all the holiday things coming up in the spring. So thrilled to have you on, and we've been connected for several years in the HR community, and so as I meet people in different roles and responsibilities, and they all have a story with HR and how they got into HR. And now, looking at where the workforce is now, I think every time I have somebody on and I feel like I know a lot about what's going on with culture, I hear more and more that I learn from. So I'm thrilled to have you on today. And so for those of you who don't know Meghan, obviously we have people watching live on LinkedIn. So if you have a question for us, chime in. Would love to hear from you. So let's go back 20 years and back, or whenever you started to get into HR, where were you and why were you trying to get into HR for a career?
It's kind of a crazy story, and I love telling it. So thanks for the question. So I was going to school originally for fine art, and I transitioned out of multiple colleges my freshman year. My parents were so thrilled with me. And so I ended up at NKU, Northern Kentucky University, and they were like, we don't have a communications degree, because my older sister was like, just go into communications. Like, it just covers the gamut, right? And so I went and they put me in public relations because they're like, you like writing, you like event planning.
Yep.
And when it was time to intern, people kept putting me in HR. I had no idea what it was, like none. I was like, what is this? Like, I have no idea. So I did 3 internships in HR and I just absolutely loved it. Like, I was good at it. And the funny thing is my older sister is in HR. She started in recruitment and then she's transitioned. She's a vice president of a global company in HR. And then our baby sister went into HR as well. So all 3 of us are in it. So it has to be something in our blood. We love fairness. We're really good with honesty and really, we all do HR. So it's really, our holidays as a family are really fascinating.
I bet that is exciting. And I've got, if you haven't seen my little mini air horn, so having family in HR and talking about HR, I'm sure, is a lot of fun. So no, that's great. And you've been with the current role that you've been in for just recently. You got moved into a new role, but it's VP of Organizational Excellence. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I joined Beech Acres. We are the oldest nonprofit in Greater Cincinnati. We're over 176 years old. We started as an orphanage and we've transitioned. And now we do parent education, mental health services, and school-based adoption and kinship care, as well as parenting time, and just a plethora of amazing things. And I never thought I wanted to do nonprofit work. And I was just blown away of how professional, and we really run like a business, and folks are really always impressed about how professional we are and how polished we are as an organization, and just the amazing work. Our mission is just what brings people here and what really keeps people going here. And it's been amazing. So I joined as our vice president of talent culture. So really just HR. And then it was just this year that the end of the year in December, I was asked, would you want to take on client experience as well? Since the way that I've worked so diligently through our culture and our employee value proposition and creating a framework and really moving the needle for our employee engagement and how we have consistency, fairness across the board, transparency to our team members in so many different ways. It really has shown up for us in our team members' surveys, our engagement, how our team members respond to things. Nothing's perfect, of course, but they saw something in the work that we were doing and really wanted to have that go externally for our clients as well. So we just started that path as well.
Yeah. And anybody in HR, and maybe folks that aren't in HR too, like, culture is something that I talk about almost every day. And it's either in an interview when I'm talking to somebody about joining our team, or somebody internally, or so everybody's involved in culture. Obviously, there's folks that need to lead the culture shifts and the changes, or to sustain it. So we're going to dive into that a whole lot and really help uncover things that you might have seen that might help others listening and tuning in. So one question I ask every guest, Meghan, is about advice you've received along the way. So if you have to think about what people have given you over the years, what's maybe one of the biggest pieces of advice you've ever received?
Yeah. Oh goodness. So my current CEO, she's wonderful, and she always reminds me because I care probably too much sometimes what people think, and I really care about my personal brand and how I
Yeah.
show up for our team members. And I would be remiss if I didn't say it's hard, right? The higher you go, the harder it is. The more scrutinized you are, people might infer things about you. They hear rumors. They pick up things, and so I often really try not to worry as much as I used to. And she always tells me, like, you can't chase every bad publicity that you have out there. You can't change everybody. You're not going to win everybody over. So I definitely appreciate that. But my favorite one, and she always says it's such a class act of me, but I had a boss when I worked at Belterra Park and opened that casino. And my boss used to say, we're going to take the high road. And even I would joke, I would say, Kevin, I want to take the lowest road. Like, I want to go under the bridge and come out from underneath the bridge. And he goes, but if you crawl through mud, you're going to end up covered in mud. So
Yeah.
always take the high road, always, stay a class act, always stay true to yourself. That doesn't mean you don't stand up for yourself, because I've definitely had to do that in my years in HR. And
Right.
it's hard because things are going to get messy, but stay as clean as you can and you will be better off.
Got to give you another one for that. That was great. So, okay, a couple rapid fire questions, and then we're going to get into the world famous envelope icebreaker game, and then get into your topic on culture. So, rapid fire questions. What's one word you would describe a thriving workplace?
Creative.
Creative. Favorite quick tip for leaders to boost team belonging?
I would say listening.
Listening. Okay. Biggest myth about workplace culture you wish everyone would stop believing?
You're going to get 100% people on board.
Yep. One habit that instantly improves leadership authenticity.
Being authentic.
Right? Okay. Best way to celebrate small wins in a building culture?
Just recognizing, high fives, saying great job, giving people the snaps that they want to hear.
Yep. Getting a little air horn and go around the office.
Yep.
You always get people to smile when you hear that. So
yeah.
We have a couple people watching live. For some reason, it comes up as LinkedIn user on my end, but it looks like it's Lena. So Lena says HR all around you. It probably will just come up as a LinkedIn user. So thanks for joining, Lena. Okay. So this is something I did all the way back to episode 1. And this episode 67. I don't know if kids still do but it's
Mine do.
I think it's passed. So I
Trying
looked
to.
at that and I was like, oh, episode 67. Here we go. But so this is a little bit more of a game about an envelope with a number. So there's 15. So think of a number as we transition and you get to pick.
Okay.
All right. 1 through 15. What do you got?
4.
4. Okay. She took number 4. Okay. What's something recent that made you laugh out loud?
Oh, gosh. So my dear friend, I'm going to embarrass him, Jason Lawson, he's out of Columbus. He's also HR and a longtime friend of mine from the HR Ohio State conferences.
Okay.
He went outside of his comfort zone and he was in the Full Monty. And it was a Columbus production, him and his wife, Abby, shout out to her. She's amazing.
Yeah.
They were in it. So I went with Gina and Alyssa, who are both HR professionals that I've known from the conferences for years. And we just had a ball. And I don't know what was better, watching in anticipation of what was really going to happen with the Full Monty, or knowing that Gina, who didn't know what the Full Monty was fully about, was sitting in her seat just freaking out, thinking we're about to see our friend Jason. I don't know the last time I laughed so hard, but it was so great. And obviously they had flesh colored attire, so you couldn't see anything, but it was fantastic. And I just smile thinking about visiting my friends and supporting their passions and just, oh my gosh, watching your friend in the full Monty. What could be
That's
better?
so fun. That is
It
so
was great.
fun.
It was a
I
great
love
time.
it.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for playing. It's always fun to see what people pick. So, a couple of things before we get to your topic here. Um, SpeakEasy HR just joined a brand new HR channel on Roku and Amazon Fire. So it is a collaboration of podcasts that are already out there. You can find them at workdefined.com. But now this is on Roku and Amazon Fire. So I was asked to join, and it's just in the infancy stage. So you can go to, there's a website, which is the hrchannel.tv. You can find it on Roku, Amazon. So tune in. It's still getting worked out, but it's something new that I didn't think would ever come out. But there might be times where you'll be able to watch it on TV live with other episodes and guests. So more to come on the HR channel. Very excited to be part of that. And obviously the blogs out at speakeasyhr.com, several new ones, but one was about culture and the competitive advantage of 2026, which is something that we're going to dive into as well. So just one quick message from our presenting sponsor, Payroll Partners. And then Megan, we're going to dive into your topic about culture and how to build a thriving culture. So hold on 1 minute, grab a drink, and we'll be back here in a minute.
Finding a new employee takes time and money. For one position on a single job board, you could easily spend a minimum of $5 to $10 a day advertising a job post. It's worth noting that the average time it takes to hire a new employee is 36 days. However, it can take longer than that. You could find yourself paying hundreds of dollars a month for a single job board. And if you're using multiple job boards for multiple positions, this could add up to thousands of dollars a month. There is a much simpler and more affordable way of finding the right candidate. At Payroll Partners, we offer an applicant tracking system to help manage your hiring process. Our ATS is customizable, allowing you to decide which days you want to run the job and when to close it so you don't break the bank. And this feature lets you e-blast your network, posting jobs on multiple boards at once, all managed in one location. Payroll Partners, elevating your payroll and HR experience.
Be better if I was unmuted. So if you are looking for better technology, service, customized platforms for your business, check us out, payrollpartners.net. Look me up on LinkedIn. Would love to just hear about your situation and just want to see if we can help. There's so many different systems out there and all of them work a little differently. But when it comes down to service, technology, and really having somebody to call, we can help and customize that experience. So payrollpartners.net. All right. So Megan, when we first started talking about your episode and coming on, that was months ago that we booked. And so between now and then, looking at culture and how you've seen it within your organization, I want to really dive into this and really figure out what people can do in 2026 to stop surviving at work and build a thriving culture. And folks that are involved in leading that, obviously, it's really important for them to hear this message. But you've spent 20 years in HR now and leadership development. And so from your perspective, what's some of the biggest differences between that organizations, where employees are just surviving versus the ones that are really thriving in your experience?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me was having a true roadmap of a plan. So it's so important. You think about a company has a strategic plan. They have goals. They have KPIs. You pick whatever your flavor is. Most companies have all three, right? But having a clear plan of what is the goal behind your culture, and that in and of itself has to embed into the strategic plan, and knowing that those go hand in hand and having all the leadership team on the same page. Now, that's the hardest magical piece, but I think there is a post-pandemic life, there is a lot more organizational awareness to you're not going to just be a number. You're not going to easily replace staff. You really want to retain your staff. I mean, I've seen that shift from 20 years ago to today, significant shift.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that team members feel safe in their work environment, that their job's not going to be taken away from them tomorrow. And I still combat that with team members where they're like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was going to get my, I thought I could wake up tomorrow and not have a job. And I was like, but why? Like, that's so not who we are foundationally. And it's something that we've really strived to get rid of, but we have past trauma as team members. And I know trauma is not a word that everybody loves to hear, but truly, if you've been let go from a position or you've had a bad coaching or you've had a bad leader, you are carrying that with you and you're always in the back of your mind second guessing yourself, which is really hard. So you do have to have an environment and create that environment where people trust that they are safe to make mistakes, that it's celebrated, that it's discussed, and then obviously creating that strategy on how you're going to create that culture. And what is important that the leadership team agrees on is important to creating that great culture, because every culture is different, and I think that's so important. So that strategy piece, and then layering a framework on how you're going to get there. Our framework is great for us. It doesn't mean it's for everybody, but our framework has really helped us to lead to creating a great employee value proposition.
Yeah. So many companies, they say they want a thriving culture. That's what they shoot for. But in reality, employees still feel burned out or disconnected. So what are some of the first signs that leaders should really look out for that their culture needs more attention?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to know that your culture needs more attention is, yes, surveys will tell you some of that. I'm sure that we've had surveys before that seem more performative than honest, to be honest with you. I know that there are team members that are probably burnout here that are struggling with different things or having tough days. But you have to have more good than bad within your culture to help team members be able to survive through those bad days, because we do tough work here at Beech Acres. There's no question. Our team members do such amazing jobs and they give so much of their heart and commitment to really tough stuff. So we have to ensure that the days are always going to be better than worse. But I think the thing that leaders have to really consider is like, what are your team members telling you? So if we ignore survey data, if we ignore team member voices and you're not considering them, and I coin it the wheels on the bus. So I have a slide in our employee value proposition, and what was once in the 70s, you might have been riding a tricycle at best as an employer, it's pay, work schedule, and maybe your retirement plan or maybe your benefit plan. But we are now driving semis, folks. We are not. The world has changed so much that you have to care about every wheel on that bus. And what I mean by that, or on that semi, I call it the wheels on the bus, because with one flat tire, you're not going to get to your destination. No. So you have to listen to your team members and understand, okay, healthcare matters, right? If you're in HR, if you're a leader, you should probably know that by now, right? Compensation absolutely matters. It's not the number one wheel, but it's definitely still a wheel you have to be paying attention to, because there are people that do need you to pay attention to that. You have to talk about your values and like how your organization is going to show up, what you're tolerating, what you're not. And I'm not talking about the values that are written on a piece of paper that no one knows and no one can memorize. I'm talking about the values that are actually existing in your organization, what you're tolerating. We are really into our values at Beech Acres, and every single team member, maybe our new hires could name 4 of the 5, but I bet you they could name them. Yeah. We live them so passionately, and that's what we accept and that's what we tolerate. We do not tolerate outside of that. Yeah. So I think that's really important. You talk about your 401k and your pension or whatever you might have from an offering of retirement, the employee's well-being. So actually acknowledging that, your employee is a person. I think about Meghan in 15 years ago. I was definitely a leader. I was like, oh, we leave our problems at the door, everybody. We're here to go to work. Like, leave it at the door. Oh my gosh. If you worked for me 15 years ago and you're listening to this, I apologize. I hope you loved me then. I worked in manufacturing warehouse, so I think I got away with it then. But I will tell you that doesn't work today. Like, I could never say that to a team member here at Beech Acres. Like, I will sit with a team member for an hour and a half and let them cry in my office before I would ever tell them, okay, you got to get it together, right? And you got to go back to work, because understanding these are human beings and not that I'm just a number, I'm just replaceable. Yes, we should all know we are replaceable. I'm replaceable, right? I know that. But I also know that I do good enough work and the company values me that they're not just going to up and replace me if I make a mistake, right? And I need every single team member to know that. So all those wheels on the bus leaders have to know what's important to your team members and make sure that you are actually enacting as best as you can. I get there's financial impacts. I get that there's leaders that might not be on board with that, or it might not be the popular thing. But if you really want to be in that thriving culture, finding ways to get yourself there is really important.
Yeah. So we have several generations working together, and I feel like a sense of belonging is one that every generation values, but some might value it a little bit more. And primarily the younger generations want to have a sense of belonging and purpose. So for belonging to have such a huge impact in the employee experience, what are some of the habits, behaviors that great managers are constantly demonstrating to help their team thrive?
Absolutely. And I'm a big believer of this. This is the first time we've had so many generations in the workplace. And I'm an elder millennial, and I spoke on it on the Disrupt HR stage. I was
Yeah.
Attack of the Millennials, and people were baffled. They were like, they don't think of me as a millennial, right? And I've never been one to have any dispute about generations are uniquely different, but it's not cookie cutter, right? I was never cookie cutter as a military raised child. I was never going to be the typical millennial, right?
Right.
But I do think there is something to be said about appreciating every team member's unique differences and knowing what they want. So I have a natural style and I have an adjusted style as a leader. And I know what my team members need. Every single person on my team is actually from a different generation, which is pretty cool. I think only two of them are from the same generation, but we hit almost every single generation. And so I know what they need from me. I know what makes them tick. I know how they're motivated. And it would be surprised. Like, they're all so uniquely different.
Yeah.
That does not mean that they're not going to be held accountable. That does not mean that I don't have to sometimes really be very clear. And we have frameworks in our culture for just those instances. We use the GROW model and we use the will skill matrix. And we work with team members when you're not being accountable to your work. We're going to go through will skill, and we're going to talk about where is your will and where's your skill and how do we grow you there. It's not because you don't like this, but that seems to help connect, especially for the younger generations that are just like, I want to do my own thing and I'm happy doing this. And so it's like, well, no, we really do have to have accountability to what we're doing, and it can't just be all roses and sunshine. But I will say the younger generations, it plays well for us because they do want to have mission driven work. And so we get a lot of younger generations, but I do see that there seems to be a lot more needs, mainly because we are now growing to understand that we're allowed to ask for those needs to be met in the workplace.
Yeah. So managers have such a huge impact on the employee experience. You can hire, HR can do their part, but then when it comes to managing staff, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this have thought about jobs they've left, and it might have been because of the way they were managed and that they didn't respect their manager. They didn't like their manager and how they really were there every day in some way, shape, or form, micromanaging or just never recognizing them and always coming back at them as, making mistakes. So when you think about that and what you've experienced, what are some of those ways that managers have really impacted the employee experience that you have seen firsthand?
It's tremendous, actually. So when I joined, we were going through such a transitional time at Beech Acres. I'm the longest running vice president with just about 4 years here at the agency. And it was really interesting to see our turnover was at 40% when I joined the agency. And now we're down to a running almost 12% for our entire fiscal year. We're about to close out our fiscal year. So really tremendous change for us. And one of the things is that our leaders are amazing. They do a lot of those one-on-one connections. We really have close-knit teams. And I see that our top workplaces engagement score, our customer service rep was like, I've never seen scores this high. And I've never seen it this high for my leader or manager cares about me. We were a 97%. So that means that of our team members, which we had 80% of our team members take this survey, completely anonymous, completely unforced, emailed it out and left it go. Literally let the company that runs the survey, they handled it. And our team members felt so strongly that their leader genuinely cared about them. And that was one of the things that we talked about. We do leadership development every month, and we talk about the importance of one-on-ones. We talk about the importance of caring about the team member as a whole and really making space for that. And even when the person's being held accountable, like, you have to be there for them and say, it's okay to make these mistakes. We're going to overcome this. And being really empathetic and really understanding that you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to be on a coaching. You don't want to be in a situation where, people feel like they're on performance plans and things like that, but you really need to support. Yes, the team member needs to come to the table. That is always the flip side. You need to come to the table when you're making mistakes. But I think it's that idea of how do we support and really engage those team members and feeling like they are seen as a whole person when they're here.
Yeah. So when organizations want to shift their culture, where should they start? I know you had talked a little bit earlier, but you have leadership, you have systems, you have communication, somewhere else, where would be kind of that starting point?
Yeah. I always like to start with the end in mind. So what are your goals? What are you trying to aim for? And working backwards. So the few things that we started out with, first, we knew we wanted to have an employee value proposition. This is how we address candidates. It's how we talk to new hires. It's how we share with our team members, what are we working on and what are the wheels on the bus that we're focusing on each year. And so from that, we surveyed all of our team members. They all got to play a part in it if they chose, if they wanted to. And then we talk about it at our quarterly impact meetings. So every quarter, we talk about what are we doing with our employee value proposition. So there's communication. When I email things that are happening in the agency, policy changes, benefit updates, things like that, I tie it back to that same strategy, that employee value proposition. And then as time went on, we found a framework that really worked with our language. We use natural strength practices. It's a free survey that you can use. The Myerson's Institute uses it. It's a really great thing that we use. We do it with kids in services, families, as well as our staff. And the PERMA framework, PERMAH, actually uses the strength-based practice, and it goes through different ways that you care for your team members. So P is for positivity, E is for emotion, R is for relations, and so on and so forth. So we use that to ground us into our employee value proposition. So whenever we're talking about it, we're pulling from the PERMA. What does this connect to? Oh, okay, so it's benefit season. This is the H in PERMA. It's our health, right? And how do we impact our health? We did the Go Red race just in Cincinnati in March. And so we toggled to that. That was part of health, right? Right now we're doing emotions. And so we're talking about our emotional well-being as team members and how do we manage through disappointment? How do we become more resilient? Because that's one of the biggest challenges we see is our ability to be resilient because we are tapped in our emotions here at work. So using those pieces, having your team members help you frame what is important to them. Do not sit in a boardroom and just have leaders create this because it won't last and it won't be well lived. But every single piece of that is toggled and team members they know it. And it's just the redundancy and continuing to let it live and breathe and continue to refine it as time goes on. Because if you just put it out there once and you check in once a year, that strategy is not going to last and you're going to forget about it. So it's in everything that we do.
Yeah. So folks that are listening that are involved in recruiting for their organizations, I'm sure some of them have a recruiting workflow. Obviously, you're interviewing people, whether it's a phone interview, in person. Some might do any kind of assessment before they actually hire somebody. There's a slew of them out there. So in your experience, when you look at like your culture at Beech Acres and how you are trying to align somebody coming in, do you lean into systems to do some of that kind of guessing or taking the guessing game out of it? Like, hey, Joe will do well here because of the culture we have and the kind of person that he is. Or is it more about just having that interview in your office and really seeing like firsthand if they're going to be a good candidate or somebody to come onto your team?
Great question. So I avoid any kind of tools that are going to vet that candidate because of the legal risk behind it. And being in HR for so long, I know that those can really get tricky and some of them are not legally compliant. So we do ask value-based questions because those are part of our employee value proposition. So we ask questions around values and asking how they show up for these values and what they mean to them.
Yep.
And then we ask questions on their job-based competencies and just level-based competencies. So we have competencies embedded to our framework of how we evaluate our team members, how we train our team members, and that's all connected to the employee value proposition. And so it is important that team members know what our values are and are comfortable with them and want to live by those values, and know that that's the first thing on our annual review process is these are the values that we live by and this is what we evaluate you on.
Yeah.
And so we don't do any of the DISC profile or assessments, or even when I worked at another firm, we had predictive index and culture index. They would tell us, okay, these are the type of personalities that fit these roles best. You don't know that. Like, I get that there's science and data behind it. I'm certified in both, but I will tell you that at the end of the day, it's about the person. And I always remind leaders, we're not hiring for our best buddy. We're not hiring for the person that's just like us. We're hiring for the skill set of the person and a human being that wants to do this work and will be a good team player.
Right.
Because that whole idea of like, oh, they're not a good cultural fit, that doesn't fly anymore. And that's really risky. So you have to be really careful about those things.
Yep. So you work closely with the leaders there at Beech Acres and you know the team. So can you share an example of a transformation where a team moved from like struggling to thriving?
Oh yeah. So a lot of our departments were in different different life cycles, if you will, and they continue to be in different life cycles because we are often at the mercy of grants, of partnerships, of contracts and renewals, whether it be with the city, with the schools, with the mental health board, you name it. And so things can change pretty quickly, which is really hard. And it is my job to do as much as I can to protect our team members from those impacts. And so we did have a department that was really struggling. I think a lot of it was we had a leader in the role that was maybe progressed a little too quickly and wasn't great with some of the aspects. Wonderful human being, well beloved, but wasn't great with the accountability of leadership and wasn't strategic in how they were going to get there. And so we've seen complete tremendous turnaround with our new leader and bringing someone in that, you know, probably is, would say that they're a very different personality from the previous person, but they're very supportive. They are very knowledgeable. They're very confident in helping team members to move through and get to where we need to go, and helping team members to also understand why is it important. I get that we're not in it for the money. We are a nonprofit, but it is important that we are still sustainable in our programs so that we can continue to support and serve others. So it does get tricky, but I think we've had some really tremendous leaders. We had one leader who promoted and I helped with their growth, and they've done tremendous. And the former leader exited. Everyone thought like the sky was going to fall down. And I was like, no, we've got this. We've got somebody that's ready to step up. And they've just done a tremendous job and is so well beloved by the staff as well. So we have amazing, amazing leaders. And I can't thank them enough because I can't take credit for the cultural shifts. It's really the work that they're doing every day and them entrusting me with like, hey, here's how we're going to do stuff. And it's not always going to be perfect. We're not asking you for perfection. But we're asking you to do a great job and be there to listen. And sometimes we get it right, and we're really lucky for that. And sometimes we have to pivot and change course and do some other stuff too.
Yeah. So you were explaining the change in retention and turnover, and just tell me the stat again and how that shifted over the time you were there.
Yeah. So when I joined the agency, we were at about, I want to say it was like 44% turnover. So again, we had a lot of large changes as an agency. Our CEO was new after our former CEO retired after 40 something years.
Okay.
CFO changed, COO changed, and then the vice presidents kind of started shifting. And not because of anything bad was happening, but change was happening. And we as humans, we don't always love change, right? Especially big change. And so we were at about 44% my first year here. My second year here, we got down to 34%. Last year, we finished at about a 20%. And right now, knock on wood, we finished in 3 months and we are at a 12%. So really big changes. Our engagement scores have stayed in the high 90s, and we do monthly pulse checks. This is our first year we went back for top places to work in the nation, as well as in Greater Cincinnati. Can't share what happened in Greater Cincinnati because that doesn't get released by the Enquirer for a couple months. But as a nation, we won in our national surveys, we won 6 of the 8 for culture of excellence. the coveted employee recognition we won, and then we also won top nonprofit in the nation. So in the top nonprofit. So yeah,
That's
pretty
awesome.
amazing. And again,
Yeah.
this is the work of our team members and feeling their voices are heard, that we're doing as best we can with the information that they give us, always something to improve upon. And then of course, our amazing leaders really caring for our team members and making them feel valued and heard, which is just tremendous. So
Yeah. So was there like one thing in particular that really shifted over time that made that go from 44 to 34 to like is it one particular thing, or was it different managers, personnel? Like what was the true, I guess, cause of that outside of your role?
I think the biggest thing is building trust and really transparency over time, because there were
Yeah.
so many new leaders. I think a lot of the turnover came from the uncertainty and the new leaders
Yep.
and just not, different personalities. I think some of it was just judging the personalities that were coming in the door, not knowing the skill set or even the integrity of the individuals coming in the door.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it goes back to like being transparent. Like we signed the Pay Transparency Act with Hamilton County, and I was so proud to get to do that and honored to do that. We are very transparent as an organization. We over communicate. There's a running joke, like we have the Meghan folder and it's all Meghan's beautiful emails that she sends to us as team members, and you can choose to read them or not, but you're going to get communication. Like nothing gets my skin crawling with it when a team member says, I didn't know. And I'm like, there's no way you didn't know. Like it's in the newsletter, it's in the emails, it's in the quarterly impact meeting, it's in my potty posts that I give. And we have little posters in our potties. So it's everywhere. We've tried to really communicate. But it's that idea of like people knowing who I genuinely am authentically, knowing all the executives and all the leaders that are making those decisions, their directors, their managers, their supervisors, learning that their supervisors, managers, and directors also get to make decisions. I will not let a policy go out the door until I've vetted it with the executive team, the director team, the manager team, the supervisor team, and gotten all feedback. And then we go for it. And they're raising up our team member voices. So it's really building trust and confidence that this is genuinely a good person that genuinely has my back. In meetings, when I'm not there, she's advocating for me. She's advocating for consistency and fairness. And despite what I might think about HR, because of course the movies and everything does no favors to us, right? We are always the bad guy, and it's really not fun. Like when somebody's like, oh, I have to go to the principal's office, I'm like, please do not say that ever again. Like, it's so not nice. But like genuinely knowing that, and then that consistency, and just keep building. So like every time my CEO is like, can you build a leadership platform program? I'm like, yes, I can. Can you make sure that we're having monthly trainings for our directors and managers that's meaningful? Yes, I can. Can you do a 3-day summit? This was my first year here. Can you do a 3-day training conference for all of our team members? Yes, I can. And on a shoestring budget, mind you. And we're in year 4 of doing that. Things that no one else thinks of that you could do in a small organization, in a nonprofit.
Yep.
We do, and we do it really, really well. So it's that idea of like being consistent, being transparent, and showing up for your team in a really good way without bias, which is really, really hard. And even though you'll never get people fully to believe you're not biased, it is really, really important, because that was one of the things I walked into. People talked about the bias that they felt. And so I really work hard not to ensure people feel treated fairly.
Yep. So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube with Meghan Hensley with Beech Acres. She is shifting culture every day with the organization in the right direction. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Would love to hear from you. I've got a few other questions on my end. So in today's fast-paced work environment, Meghan, how can organizations balance that performance expectations that they have while also still supporting their employees' well-being?
We've ran through that quite a few times. And what I would say is just giving the why. Why does it matter? Like, what does this do for us? Because I mean, it's harder. Most of my career was in the for-profit sector. So it is harder because you're like, team members are like, somebody wants to make more money. Okay, sometimes. But it is important that team members understand the sustainability behind our roles, the need for it. I have to remind my team all the time, if we're not being fully productive, guys, we don't have a lot of ability to have overhead and extra staff members that aren't being fully productive. And so if that's the case, then it could be very risky at the time of annual planning. So I want to make sure that we're being fully productive. So it is important that, you're giving your team members the why, and why does it matter? Not just because, oh, this is what we pay you to do. That kind of mentality has really changed over the years, and it's important that it does change. But I think it is important to give people the why and what is it linked to? Because like David mentioned, everybody wants to feel like you have a purpose, that you're doing something with purpose while you go to work. And so it is just understanding and connecting to that purpose. And I've heard from some amazing speakers that do just even some of the simplest things. There was a company that was at Work Human last year, and he talked about bikes and building bikes, and everybody's connected to the mission behind their bike building. And I was like, I'm gonna go build bikes with this guy. It's amazing. Like their mission makes so much sense to me. So it is connecting. Why does this matter? And what value do you bring in doing what you're doing?
Yeah. There is a great HR conference coming up next month. It's almost April. So in basically a month, April 30th, 2026, we have the HR Collaborative in Cincinnati. It's a new venue this year, all-day event. Great speakers, a great keynote from out of town who's coming in. Super excited about this lineup. I was there last year doing a live podcast. I'll be there again this year doing a live podcast. So if you are joining us there, we'll definitely see you there. If not, look at it. Consider going if you are in the greater Cincinnati area. It's one of the last few all-day events that I know of locally outside of the Disrupt HR events and the other, HR conferences. So take a look at it at HR Collaborative and see if it's something that fits your background and what you want to come to. And there's CE credits there for sure. So, so Meghan, the leaders listening today, what's one simple action that they can take this week that would immediately improve the culture on their team?
I think it's hunting the good. We always talk about hunting the good. So find the good. I have a coworker whose office meets next to me, and she always says, look for the 5 things you can do to impact this week. What are the 5 things that you can do so you stay positive? And sometimes on my tough weeks, I have to remember that. Like, what are the 5 things that I really want to stay focused on and grounded in? And just being intentional and mindful about the work that I'm doing. We're not going to be perfect every day. I had a day, and I've had a few days lately, and I'm just like, okay, I got this. I can do this. And look for the good in what we're doing, and look for the positive things that your team members do or that you do, so you can stay in the positive mode, because team members want to follow a leader that's solid, that is secure, that is doing the right things, that is still honest and authentic. So that doesn't mean you can't have bad days, but I think it is the idea of like hunting the good and really showing that appreciation. And so I try to appreciate my team members in different ways and always make sure that I'm looking for the good in what we're doing and how it impacts the work that we're doing.
Yeah. It probably played a factor in this when it comes to recognition with your staff. So not to get into the full details, but is there a few things that you try to focus on and encourage managers to do? Is there a full recognition program, Employee of the Month award you have there? Like how has that transpired since you've been there?
Yeah. So I started what's called our Love Award, LOV, Living Our Values. So it's based on people getting recognized for their values. So you guys can steal it if you do. Give me some credits.
Yeah.
So it's LOV, Love Award. I use this at Belterra Park, and then I brought it here. So team members get nominated for living our values, and then they become the love winner. There's different little gold trophies every year that are hearts. Get them off of Amazon. Again, we're a nonprofit, so we're going real expensive here. And then they get a certificate signed by our CEO for living the value, and it's in our Beach Buzz, so it's in our newsletter that comes out every month. And then we use Bonusly points. So I'd never used Bonusly before, but we have team members everywhere. So 1/3 of our staff is in an office. Everybody else is out in the community, in schools. They're all over the place. And that was really hard because I used to do the shops where you get bucks and then you go and shop in the little store that you would keep in your HR office or whatever, which was fun. But if your staff isn't always in the same place every day, it's really hard. So we sign on with Bonusly, and I tell everybody about it. I don't get paid by Bonusly. I should by now, because I think I've signed up 16 people maybe in the 2-3 years that I've been with Bonusly. But it's amazing. And it's a bonus point system. It's toggled to teams. There's hashtags. So all of our hashtags are toggled to our values. It's a really cool way for us to also track what are our values that are being lived out the most. Yeah. But then we also have awards in there where you can gift awards to your team members. And then there's shops online. So they can buy gift cards. They can, we even set up a local shop with a print shop that does apparel. So team members can order their apparel through there and then buy it with Bonusly points. and then we pick it up and it's in my neck of the woods. So I'll go pick up their little outfit or their item that they bought. I brought one in today that was a blazer with our Beech Acres logo on it. So it's a really cool recognition, but it all ties together. And then all of our Love Award winners become Team Member of the Year at the end of the year. Past winners pick it, so executives don't even have to pick it. And so it's great. It's as unbiased as possible, but we do it blind voting, and our culture club narrows it down, and then our executive team votes from the final nominees, if you will. And so we do fun stuff like that. It's a really cool built out program. We even send cards in the mail to their homes with little hearts for the nominees if they didn't win, just letting them know you were nominated and here's the story of why what you were nominated for. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So final question for you. Looking ahead, what do you believe is the best workplaces will be doing differently over the next 5 to 10 years to help employees thrive? What do you believe will be the best things
I
that
think
people will be doing in the next 5 years?
we're at such a crossroads with work life. And I don't believe in work-life balance. Sherm came up with this, and as a longtime Sherm member, I can fully attest that we came up with this years and years ago, about 12 plus years ago. It's really work-life balance, because there, like the work-life balance, or sorry, not work-life balance, work-life harmony. Excuse me, that's the new term, is work-life harmony, because we sleep so much when we're at home, so the balance isn't always going to feel like a balance.
Right.
But I think it is that idea of like how we do work, where we do work, efficiencies in our work. But I am a big believer, it is not a cookie cutter. As someone that worked in hospitals, at hospitality, and architecture firms, design firms, and even manufacturing, like it is not a one size fits all. So I recognize that not every company can go remote or hybrid or this or that, the other. I think it is that challenge of how do we meet our team members where they want to be met as best as we can with what our situation is. Like, I have some staff, they have to work in the schools 5 days a week because they're the therapist in the school and we have a contract, which makes perfect sense. Like, this is what you signed up for. So I think it is that idea of like, how can we work with the folks to meeting their needs as best as we can and helping them to understand if we can't do something that they're asking, why. And I think, 5 to 10 years, I know it's really tricky, but AI is going to have such a interesting evolution in my mind, because it does have, there's a lot of bad behind AI, not just breaches and things like that, but it's what's happening in the ecosystem and like who's getting impacted by AI and who owns AI and what's being really used with AI. I do recognize that. But I also believe that it does create a lot of efficiencies as well. And that can change how things are going to go. But I am a firm believer HR is not going to be one that's replaced, because no one's wanting to talk to a robot about their issue and feeling comforted by a robot. And so I always say, like, we're one of the foolproof things because we are in the business of people, and you really can't replace people in the business of people. So,
right. Yeah. And that it is so true. I don't care if your business has 10 employees, 100, thousands. At the end of the day, everybody is human. They have stuff, they've got life, they're messy, and they want to be trusting their employer. They want to be trusting their manager. They want to see that the company cares about them, and technology will change the way we all do business. But at the end of the day, if you're in HR now and you're burned out, I get it. Like, a lot of people are burned out. People that aren't even in HR are burned out. So if you're in HR and you're thinking of getting out, that's up to you. I know in the future we will have jobs, like there will be acquisitions, there will be certain situations within organizations that really are out of your control. However, we are not getting replaced. And, until there's like a whole industry that just operates with machines and technology with no humans involved, I will say HR is still important and will help drive the culture, and things that you just talked about for the last 45 minutes really sticks to that. And it shows me that we're doing the right things. I hear about people doing those kinds of things too. So again, that's what I talk about in interviews. Like, what kind of culture are you looking for? And I think it's such an important thing that some people don't even think about that when they interview. And it's funny. And I don't know if you have a like your favorite question to ask in interviews, but I talk about culture. I talk about accomplishments. You know, what made you decide to leave this job and this job and this job? And a lot of them, they didn't decide to leave. They got laid off. They got, their job was eliminated. So when it comes to like interviewing, maybe I do have one more question. What is your favorite interview question? Do you have one?
I mean, I definitely like to like I think my biggest one is like, how do you like to be communicated to, and how do you like to communicate?
Yeah.
It's very telling if somebody is, in a specific department and they're saying, "Hey, I really like to do it via email," and I know that they're going to have a lot of in-person communications, right?
Yeah.
Or they're like, "I really like it when people talk to me very softly," and I'm thinking, you're about to embark on X number of people and you're going to work with all these different walks of life, and that's not really going to fly here. And so it does
Yeah.
help you to understand the inner workings of a person when you talk about their communication style and how they like to communicate, and then how do they like to be communicated with.
Yeah. Yeah. And nonprofits are definitely a different, situation, and you have seen it, right? So,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
it's definitely challenging to maybe find people that want to do that work. And I think it's so important. And you had said that you are the oldest nonprofit in Cincinnati. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. Anything else you want to share or mention?
I'll see you at the conference. So it's right
Yes.
in my backyard. So I'm
Yes.
excited. I saw that it's at the
All right.
Oasis, and
Yeah.
I'm on 17 and 15 holes. So I'll be there at the
You're right
HR
there. You
Collaborative.
can like walk. That's
Yeah,
great.
I literally can like we'll have party at my house afterwards. It's fine. Hopefully
Man, I tell you what,
we
we'll have to
should.
we'll have to talk about that on the planning team.
Yeah,
No, I'm joking.
all the HR people. So good times there. If you're going to Sherm National, look me up on LinkedIn. I'd love to see you at Sherm National. I'm going this year. And feel
Orlando,
free to.
right? It's down in Orlando.
Yeah, it's Orlando this year. Yeah. So keeping up with my certification. If you're not an HR person, you're in client experience or customer service or leadership
Yeah.
development, look me up. I do public speaking and events, and excited to help other businesses grow and just sharing the knowledge. I've been doing this long enough that I feel like it's been really fun to share with others and help them. I've spoke at our HR conferences for the last 4 years and continue to share at different events and activities. So love to connect with you, and thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, this has been great. I really appreciate you opening into the world of culture with you and really what you have seen. And hopefully people that listen to this come away and leave with some ideas and thoughts around what they're involved in right now in their job that might help them. So I know I learned a lot, as I do with every episode. So I appreciate your time and wish you all the best. We'll see each other in a few weeks at the HR Collaborative. So safe travels in the coming weeks, and safe travels to everybody out there traveling around for vacations this spring. So appreciate your time, and we'll see you soon. And thanks everybody for joining. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, David.
See you later.
Bye.